Nancy Pelosi knows what's going on, but she has to maintain the confidence. She's one of the coup leaders. She's leading this coup in part. John Podesta, big time. The financiers behind it, though, are the biggest financial powers in the world, trying to bring about a new globalized system of order. So Washington, you've been confused by what you've heard, because what you've heard is mostly nonsensical. And then there are intelligence operations planting disinformation and theories that sound attractive to semi-retarded pessimists that think they're smart. You know, the most dangerous thing is a little bit of knowledge, because then you think you know something, called the Dunning-Kruger effect. You know something, so you think you know everything there is to know about the thing. As I've explained before, my operating framework is I always assume that people in authority who are doing the things know what they're doing because that's how they got there. It's almost hubris and self-flattery to think that we are smarter than the people who figured out how to do the impossible already once. Donald Trump was never supposed to be the president. It was already game over. Second term is his to lose getting into it. I mean, it's he can mess up. I guess there could be a betrayal. Yeah, there's a 5, 10, 15% chance even that Biden is going to be your next president. That's pretty fucking high. You know what's a 15% chance? Russian roulette. You know, a 6-shooter, and you put one bullet, and Russian roulette will do that. You put the one bullet in, spin it, that's 1 in 6. That's about a 15% chance. Would you put that gun to your head? No, because you know that 15% chance is pretty high. And that's how we're feeling, right? It is pretty tense. But it is only 15%, I think. How I have this mapped out, it's not more than 15%. Now, I tell you, when Pelosi began to try to get Trump removed from office, after the Pence accepted the electoral votes, you know, you would think that from the 6th to the 20th, after that, it's like, and then Trump basically would concede, and he would do a sort of like world tour and kiss the kids and start a foundation for Africa or some shit. And like everything's been, no signs he's leaving. It's like everything's been like executive order, 25,000 soldiers to Washington, D.C. Don't tell me that someone else ordered them. I know that you can do that. I said the Brer Rabbit thing already. Don't be retarded with yourself. Not how things work. You always make people think that it's their idea. That's how they get themselves fucked over. But it's the command chain, the chain of command. He is like the top general of every armed force in the country, okay? And now there's been an emergency which acts like a state of war inside the country. It acts that way with FEMA, and it's a state of emergency. State of emergency is like modern, it's almost like a euphemism for dictatorship. It's almost like a euphemism for martial law. And you're like waiting for something to be declared that, for all you know, already has been declared. For all you know, the Insurrection Act already has been declared. Like, where did you read it that it says that it has to be stapled to every phone pole or whatever in the country that it's been declared? Like, where did you read that it has to be an official proclamation? Or maybe it was officially declared. Maybe it was in the words he used in these different speeches already, when he said a grave national threat, a threat to the nation, this and that, disperse, go home. Like, maybe all those things constitute, you know, what's needed to be said. I don't know, but it seems like lawyers have accomplished, you know, more with less in the past. So again, to assume that people are not doing the things that they know they need to do is stupid. It's just stupid to think that people aren't doing the thing they know they need to do. Now, are Biden and them people doing the things they need to do? Yes, but it's already stacked against them. They have a lower chance. They have a lower probability. They're not in power. right? We talked about possession is 9/10 of the law. That points to a larger power principle. We know we're not talking about possession. But just think it through. Okay, so you have the 25,000 there. Okay, Biden has canceled his inaugural parade. So, were they never planning one? No, they canceled it. They canceled. You can read. There's an article on MSN and The Hill. They get into it. I will share links to this to a Telegram group. People can see for themselves. They had planned it. Like, this was already with the Zoom, the virtual inauguration. They were still going to have a victory parade. They canceled it. Why would you cancel such a thing? Then they were going to do, get this. Then they were going to have a rehearsal. Now, this is the juicy stuff here, but I don't want people cheating and getting past your important civics lesson and history of political science and power and class dynamics that led to the rise of Trump as the only one who could. But in actual fact, this is where it has led to. You have to see now, you have to see in this moment that when they announced that the rehearsal was canceled, look, if it's a virtual inauguration, it means it can be filmed at any time. You already learned this lesson before. You just don't remember. The lesson you already learned. You already know this. Remember during Trump's second debate that didn't happen, and they were proposing like, this will be a virtual debate. And then you were like, nah, because like Joe Biden's senile. So he could pre-record the debate answers, and then since he's at a different location, they could just jam it and send that as if that was the feed in real time. Just have him wear the same outfit. Have the same stage, the same lighting, and then you could have him like whenever he's like got his dose of whatever, and then send that on, and the moderator and NBC or whatever shows that, and then you thought that he was speaking in real time, but just the two men were not in the same room together. The virtual debate. But everyone, all of the deplorables, all of MAGA was like, no, like Joe Biden's going to pre-record that shit because it's virtual. Are you seeing it now? So his rehearsal was canceled. Think about that. Think about that. That you can't have missed that. I mean, you probably did, but I couldn't have. Unbelievable. Okay. Now, during the January 6th March for Trump, you had crazy ass Alex Jones standing in front of some bleachers or something, and he's trying to say that this was supposed to be Joe Biden's like stand for the victory parade, and they're taking it down. Why were they disassembling it on January 6th? I wonder what happened on January 6th. Besides the things that you know, or what happened on the 5th? What happened on the 5th? I don't know, but it's weird that the Biden team and the transition team decided to cancel that. And at the time, I thought, like, this is hyperbole. Like, Alex Jones is standing in front of a stand that's being constructed for the March for Trump, but he's saying, oh, look, I'm standing in front of this and they're deconstructing it. And I'm like, fuck you, dude. You're like sensationalizing it. Like, that's probably a stand for the March for Trump. Then I read in The Hill or MSN, yeah, they deconstructed it. I'll give you the link. They deconstructed it. They canceled the galas, and they told people not to come, citing health. They told everyone who was going to come to the inauguration not to come. Now they're going to try to pretend that they have 1,000 or 2,000 people there based on this MSN report. I'm inferring pretend. Because it doesn't make sense that they're telling people not to come, but they're still going to have people. But then you have to look at how they did the DNC convention. That's like the same idea. Why are they downscaling all of these things? Like, all these people party when they want to. It's not like they're afraid of, COVID. I mean, they all know, like, they all know that's for you to believe. It's not for them to believe. They don't really believe it. I mean, they go to restaurants and they go out and they go to big parties and block parties and they go to the BLM marches, right? They don't really believe in it. So why would they pretend to believe in it? So that's not the real reason. Okay. Now, what is the mainstream news saying about why 25,000 soldiers are there? Like, shouldn't there be a better reason if those aren't Trump's guys? Think about it. Like, why would it be, like, why would 25,000 soldiers be there against Trump? It makes no sense. Like, why would people think like that they forget the chain of command, or they forget that the president, hires the Joint Chiefs of Staff effectively, and that he could have figured out or set anyone up along the way for treason if they were involved in some plot, or like I said, prepare for some treason from a couple of them. It's a great possibility in the next day or 2 or 3, something like that. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised about fakes. Don't be surprised about fake social media accounts claiming to be people. Don't be surprised about anything. Don't be surprised from real accounts saying things to throw you off, to create different energy level among the base. There's just, information war is very complex. Always apply the 24-hour rule. You don't need to know. You're not a decision maker. You just want to know because you're anxious. But you're going to be more anxious if you start believing fake information that is, 3.5 minutes old in front of your face, and you start asking people about it. Start thinking that you have to make my mind up about this thing. You don't have to make your mind up about those kind of things. Wait a day or 2. Doesn't make a difference to you. You're not making the decisions. Like, sleep at night. You know what I mean? Don't have a fucking heart attack over this kind of stuff. It's high stakes. I understand. But you got no power over it. And it's all wrong information until it's confirmed. So the mainstream news is saying that who they have coming is a lot of armed Trump supporters. And that's why they need all these people here. And maybe Biden's, 17 supporters, his busload of people, his, 2 million people in the country who care about Joe Biden's administration coming in. Maybe those people believe that hardcore Trump supporters are going to be armed and show up. To do what? To do what? Like, the most hardcore Trump supporters think that Trump is staying in power. That's what the most hardcore Trump supporters are thinking, that they're staying home. They're all cozy and shit. They're like eating popcorn. So there's no other reason. Like, that's a lie. That's like a story designed to explain to Biden's people how it is that Trump has the army there and he's not going anywhere until it's time for them to know. I'm telling you, like, there's no movement to have like all kinds of armed people there. Like the January 6th thing was organized by people that organized Tea Party stuff and were connected to the campaign. Trump said show up. He spoke there himself. He did a drive-by in the limousine during the first one. Remember that? Like, was all endorsed from different levels of organizers. Like, there's no organizers on this thing to show up at the Capitol on the inauguration day. Like, no one believes that even the people involved in the first January 6th Capitol Hill assault were actually Trump supporters that did, any crazy stuff. Like, no one really believes that. See that what you have to understand is the difference between what they want people to believe and what the people involved in this actually know to be true. See, what those people actually know to be true is the same thing that you know to be true. So then now, starting from that point of reference, you're like, why do they have the army there for real now? Why do they have the army there for real? It's not because there's armed Trump supporters coming. So Now, think about how we talked about before, to close this, how when you had Lin Wood, I explained when Lin Wood was saying that he has a zip drive with all of this incriminating information on different people, but that he couldn't get to the president because the president is surrounded by bad advisors and he can't get a moment with him, and he refuses to give it to anyone else because he wants to hand deliver it. And he can't get it to the president. Okay, do you understand that when he's saying that, if you know how this game works, he was saying the president already has it. So, Sidney Powell had previously, 2 Fridays before that thing that Lin Wood said, had gone to the White House and met with the president. And the cover story, as how I'm going to put it to you, was that Trump wanted to make her a special prosecutor. Do you see now that there was never a legal case? It was all, the real case was getting the evidence out there to the public, to the military, and the military knows that the public knows, and the public knows that the military knows. So, Sidney Powell was actually hand delivering the zip to Trump, or at least symbolically, you know, for Trump already had it. But it's like now people who are reading this closely, like Trump's opponents who are smart people, figured out what you now know, which is that Sidney Powell arriving there was symbolic of the fact that he already had that. But now they could just say like, well, look, now there's no way he couldn't. So now if you didn't know before, here's the symbol of it coming after. It's the shadow symbol coming after. And then Lin Wood saying, I want to get it to the president, is saying that's after. In reality, it already went to the president through Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell at the time was complaining, the president's surrounded by people, he has bad advisors, I can't get through to him. But she did. It's a ruse. The oldest thing in the book. So then, anytime they say anything like that again, it means that the thing that they're showing that they're doing and going to try to do and then claiming failure is the thing that already happened and is in play and in fact was a success. It might even predate them being involved or doing the thing. Okay. What's the next example on that same pattern? So Mike Lindell, the mattress guy, welcome to 2021. Mike fucking Lindell, a day or two ago, has a fucking meeting with Trump. The guy's in office for 6 more days, people, for fuck's sake. He's like issuing executive orders and has 25,000 people, armed military personnel in the Capitol. And what do you think he's fucking talking to Mike Lindell about? He wants to buy a mattress? Okay, so Mike Lindell stages a leak where the thing that he's telling the president is issue the Insurrection Act now. So the thing you want to be looking for is for like Mike Lindell to then say, oh, the president didn't listen, he's surrounded by advisors, he's being badly advised. Then you're going to know, oh, Trump did agree with Lindell, but actually the truer thing, because that's the after shadow, already did the thing. Just like he already had the info. Just like Powell already got to him. Didn't need to be Lin Wood getting to the president. Lin Wood's not waiting to get that information. Did you see how the nut didn't go anywhere? Why didn't that go anywhere? Because it did. He already got there. He just forgot that story because he stopped talking about it. I gotta get it to the president. And then what? Now it's no longer a concern? Use your fucking heads, people. So I would expect like Powell or Lindell are going to say something similar now, so that they're reminding you of the pattern of that sort of aftershadow, where the thing they're claiming needs to happen is the thing that already happened. And then when they sing that song about the president surrounded by bad advisors, it's impossible to get to him, he's being misled by the people closest to him. That's a script. It's used in counter-coup techniques in history. It's like you could be like in 16th century Japan, and these like warring clans, and you have like your guy tell the other guys, you know, like you have your guy who's trusted act like he's a spy for the other guy and be like, oh, they're totally disoriented in there. They can't get information to each other. They have no trust within them. They're weak right now. So then the opponent makes all wrong decisions. He has overconfidence, or he's just thoroughly confused, and you know, he has paralysis by analysis. He can't process the data. He doesn't know which move to make, because he doesn't know if it's a true truth or a lying truth, or a lying truth about a lie, or a truthful lie about the truth. Totally frozen enemies. So now I think you understand a little better what's been going on. So, but I would just forecast that you should expect, even though the last thing we know about Lindell was that he was there at the White House, you might expect him to say something else next. I don't know. But anyway, what you might also focus on is the fact that the DNI and Pentagon are still denying Biden security briefings, and also he's not yet all the transition intelligence stuff he's supposed to get, he's not got. And then they haven't even started, the Senate hasn't even started confirming, they haven't started confirming his cabinet, the sensitive ones that have military or intelligence components. Nuh-uh. They delayed one. They wrote a nice fluff piece making it sound like it was just going to be a delay over the weekend or middle of next week. It's like, how much time? Might have to wait until he's sworn in. Why? Historically, these cabinets are, you know, put together when? December? Pretty crazy. You really need to ask the questions. Who's in control of the military? Why is Trump not acting like he's going anywhere? He's not acting like he's going anywhere. Not acting like he's going anywhere. With all these executive orders and D-class. Okay. I didn't follow up on D-class. I think it happened. Don't quote me, but it would seem like, you know, there was a lot going on, but I'm very 8-track minded. I just focus on the points that are pertinent. So I'll follow up on D-class, but maybe that's a thing, but certainly will be. Talking about pardons. Like, this guy's not going anywhere. He's trying to leverage these things. It's pretty crazy. So Biden's inauguration rehearsal was stopped. Why? Citing security risks. Who's the security risk? People trying to have a fake inauguration at the pre-recording? Maybe that's a security risk. I don't know. But I'm only speculating off a real thing that happens. That's allowed. That's all we do. That's the only thing that's allowed. So altogether, you can see there's not much of a coming Biden administration, is there? I mean, you can't even get people confirmed by the Senate. You're not even having an inauguration. Usually the military does a farewell for the president. For some reason, they haven't planned one. Now, there's weird stories going around trying to make it seem like Orange Man bad. After the attack on the Capitol, military doesn't want to give him the... What? I'm going to follow up on that story if it's true. But since it tried to make the president look bad, but it was reporting that the military hasn't planned their farewell ceremony for him, I will follow up on that point. But so far it seems solid. I thought it'd be worth mentioning, like with D-Class. I'm still going to confirm those, but even without those, you're going to have a Zoom inauguration. Now, I don't want to leave you with a bad taste in your mouth, but you do need to consider a possibility that could be in the 85 or 90% that Trump is the president, or it could fall something in between, like there's an uncertainty period. If they feel they need more time to tell the story to the American people somehow, especially the Biden supporters, you know, all 23 of them. Or if they need to show something, there's a possibility that Biden somehow manages to pre-record his inauguration rehearsal, and that fake news airs that even while Trump is also being inaugurated at the same time, or even while Trump has already been inaugurated. That there is going to be, I'll tell you what, I got a piece of information from military. It came with my inside confirmation from a military spouse that the Joint Chiefs of Staff letter was real and had come through the chain of command. But they told me that that same day that at that station or base that the order was received, I guess via fax or email, that the internet had been out a lot of the day or most of the day, something like that, either a lot of the day or most of the day. It's a big weird thing. Now, that's a real thing that was said to me by a person, didn't really know what to make of it, but thought it was worth mentioning, along with confirming that the JCS thing was real, or at least had come through the chain of command. Wasn't dated, a little bit weird, but I don't want to do a sample bias. Maybe they have those. Maybe they give those memos and they're not dated regularly. I don't know. It's not my area. It's not in my lane. But it's kind of weird that the internet was out. If that statement to me was true. But the person saying it wasn't trying to get me to think something per se that I'm aware of. Maybe they were. They didn't appear that way. It wasn't the type of conversation. They weren't trying to make a point out of it. You see what I'm saying? They just thought it was a weird thing that happened, by the way. I don't know. It was being put together. I doubt it, but I'm a human being. So, now we're talking about possibility that there's a cyber war, hacking of the chain of command, and a Baudrillardian simulacrum, hyper-reality of this pre-recorded rehearsal of Joe Biden's fake inauguration that's meant to confuse the chain of command. Maybe there'll be another interruption, something like this, and then Joe Biden's orders come through after fake news or some other transmission through the military of his virtual inauguration comes through, and people see, you know, the Bible and that, and, you know, the oath of office and the whole thing, because it's on Zoom or something, right? It's like a virtual inauguration. I'm saying Zoom to be cute, but you just have to think these possibilities through. It's a very real possibility because it's something that could happen. I'm not saying it's likely, but certainly it reminds me very much of the coup about 5 years ago in Turkey. They tried to overthrow Erdogan, and I'll tell you, a very similar thing happened. And this is why I'm saying these things. I'm not prone to imagination. The military got mixed orders about themselves. At the same time, there were training exercises. At least the chain of command thought they were carrying out certain training exercises, and they had only been alerted there was a state of emergency for some reason, and they had to secure these different bridges. Erdogan was in the air in a plane, knowing that the top generals who were connected to this deep state, US deep state related ploy with the Turkish deep state. That's where actually the term deep state comes from Turkey, by the way. Connected to a US CIA deep state asset who has his own network of pseudo embassies, Turkish embassies that are called cultural centers in all these different countries. And his name is Gulen. And the group has tremendous power with different appointments in the judiciary in Turkey, and a lot of military are part of this Gulen structure. Now, for Erdogan to come into power through his AKP party coalition required support from both Muslim Brotherhood on one extreme and Gulen, who are actually very liberal Muslims. They're like super pro-modernist Muslims. And he's in the plane, and the Gulen infiltration in the military is strong in the Air Force, for example. There was an incident that happened in Syria with the Air Force when they tried to provoke a war between Russian Air Force and Turkish Air Force, when Gulen Turkish Air Force shot down a Russian plane in Syria. But the Russians were wise enough to know not to retaliate against the whole Turkish military because they had intelligence about what happened, and actually the Russian intelligence, military intelligence, helped Erdogan. It was, what happened, 6 months or something later with the whole coup attempt against Erdogan. I'm not saying Erdogan's even a good guy. This is objective retelling of the events, okay? So they saved Erdogan in the air. And somehow the planes that were supposed to shoot him down didn't shoot him down, and they actually somehow then were, the Gulen people who thought that those were their planes that were going to shoot him down actually ended up escorting him to safety. So there was a coup within the coup. Remember this? Talked about that before. The plan, you work through the plan. In the streets, at these bridges, the Turkish military were shooting at each other, each thinking that the other side had illegitimate fake orders. Okay. So you can use your own brain and extrapolate into situations that may have to do with why there's 26,000 soldiers in the capital. Maybe some of them will get some wrong orders, or maybe those who are not stationed at the capital are the more prone to get wrong orders. There's just a lot of possibilities if something happens with the disruption of the chain of command and communications. If there's a virtual inauguration that did get pre-recorded and Joe Biden is dead or in some other location, and generals think that Joe Biden is the president, and then they think that they've just received orders that came through some interrupted secure line, that they received their faxes and their emails about the orders, you see? And if there's a state of emergency, then there's only certain lines you can rely on. You can't just, your friend, oh, he's in this, oh, what did he say? It's like, well, no, that's compartmentalized. Maybe they're the problem. Maybe they're getting the wrong orders. That's how the problem happened in Turkey. So I'll leave you with those thoughts. But the point being that if this Mexican knows about these things and can tell you about them, then that means that Trump and his people, okay, who went to U.S. Army War College, Annapolis, West Point, different intelligence agencies, and the people that he's handpicked, that he's had the ability to do so, you know, within reason for the past 4 years, and all this planning, and then what you're seeing in Washington, D.C. right now, I can tell you for certain that Trump has no intention. I can tell you 100% that Trump has no intention of leaving office. And I can say that there's a 85 to 95% chance that he won't. Because the things I'm talking about are known things that are being planned for. That's the point. That's our kind of our general overall theme here, right? So that's how to explain it. And that's why I wanted to say that I've put a lot of things together. And I want to say one last thing in closing about how I'm able to put things together, you know, in the practical sense. Because I'm not opening links that you send me. I'm not reading what this person thinks or what that person thinks. That's so distracting and such a waste of time for me. I'm only looking at executive orders. I'm comparing it to my years of experience in analyzing these things. I'm comparing it to the playbooks that are known. I'm comparing it to how I assess information. And other people's opinions fit zero into the equation of understanding things because it pollutes your understanding because of the familiarity truth conflation. I don't want to hear other theories. You get that familiarity with other theories, and then people say things that they think are true, and they say it like they know it's true, and then they combine that thing with real facts that you do know is true, so then you assume that the other thing that they're saying is probably true, even though it's completely wrong, and then it throws your whole concept of what's likely to happen. So the best course of action is to ignore everything, even with the stuff that I think and have good reason to believe is primary source information and actual data coming out, and actual events that are transpiring. I still give it like 24 hours, 48 hours. So maybe the things that I'm saying, you're thinking, oh, I already thought or heard about this. Well, good, you're thinking, and I heard about it too. But that doesn't mean I believed it right away, or that I'm ready to say, okay, this is how I think the pieces fit together. Unfortunately, because I'm not a planner in this, you know, I have to use a little hindsight to see, yes, that is the contingency path that made the most sense, that has been the one that's been working. But then I can say, well, based on that, these are things that could probably, you know, happen, or different things that might possibly happen, okay? That's my best way to explain it. I love you all. I'm glad I had an opportunity to get this all out. It's, you know, an hour and 40 minutes, I think. So we don't have a 14-minute deadline like we did on Instagram. So this is, like I said, some good long reading, or listening rather, for you. Reading my mind. All right, that's it. Peace. I'm out.